So what really, what it all boils down to at the end of the day, you're not selling a car, you're not selling a photocopier, you're not selling AI widget or an AI solution. What you're selling is trust and peace of mind. If you can build that within that 4-step process, the trust and the peace of mind, that is what the customer is buying. The customer is buying that there is not a risk in taking this, that you are a trustworthy person, that actually, sales has had a bad rep, got a bit of a bad rep over the years because of unscrupulous sales behavior. But if you are a true sales professional, you're not trying to con someone, you're not trying to fool them, you're trying to help them and guide them through the process that they've got to go through anyway as a trusted advisor. And you build that trust and peace of mind. So that is ultimately what anyone is really buying from you. Because the product's a byproduct. They could buy it from anyone. They could buy it from anywhere, realistically. You can buy a car on the internet today if you really want to.
I know, right.
So why do you go to a dealership when you can buy a car on the internet? Is you're buying trust and peace of mind. You're buying that expertise from someone who will guide you through the process that you trust will do it in your best interests.
Got it. I've heard the phrase peace of mind, especially when it's tied to the insurance industry and they're selling an insurance product, maybe life insurance or many other insurance products. But it was interesting to hear in your conversations you're selling trust and peace of mind. Does it apply to every product?
Everything. Every transaction. Every transaction that is person to person, where a human being is buying from a human being. We all hear that people buy from people, but people buy from people that they trust.
Right, 100%.
Yeah? You're not going to go down the road and buy something from a guy that you absolutely do not trust. You're not going to make that transaction because your risk perception at stage 4 will be heightened and going, I don't think am I really sure this is a crazy idea? The little voices go, what are you thinking?
I bought lemonades this summer from a totally unknown person, total stranger, a small kid. Like I bought 2 times lemonades. Just kidding, but I mean, of course, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But
100%.
You're trusting that little kid isn't there to try and rip you off.
There's $1, $2 lemonade, so it is okay.
They are selling lemonade, and they're not selling washing up liquid in a cup that they've given you and told you it's lemonade. So you built that kind of that trust.
Right.
Yeah. Everything that you go through, a major buying decision. You buy, and think about it. If you're going to a clothes store to buy some clothes, you're buying it because you trust the brand. So you've built up that as a consumer. You've built up that trust of the brand, that the brand will provide you value for money. It will provide you clothes that aren't going to fall apart the first time you put it in the washing machine. It's going to make you look good. It fits on you nicely. So you've built the trust in the brand from whatever messaging or from your past experience or from anything. So trust and peace of mind really is what people buy.
Got it.
Hi, I'm Vijayan Swaminathan. I'm the founder and CEO of Zadwell. At Zadwell, we help our clients transform into the digital space. We help from the web technologies to blockchain to Internet of Things and a wide range of services. Over the years, I can see the impact of technology that can have on business of all sizes. But I've also seen a gap in the market, a lack of quality support and outstanding technology solutions that truly meet the needs of the client. And that's where we come in. And ever since 2018, we started Zadwell. We've been helping more clients to digitally transform their business. We want to provide that personalized and dedicated support and care for our clients. And through this process, we want to see our clients thrive through the digital transformation process. At Zadwell, we work with a wide range of clients, from small businesses to startups to large enterprises and public sector companies. We have the experience and expertise to help you with your goals and an ever-changing technology landscape. So if you're looking for a technology partner who truly cares about your success, here we are. It's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm so excited to see where we'll go next. Let's get to work.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pathfinders. Today we have an amazing guest, Alex Marr, everybody. Alex Marr, please allow me to introduce you. Today's guest is someone who knows exactly what it's like to build under pressure and scale without snapping the system. Alex Marr is a sales strategist, advisor, and high-performance coach who helps entrepreneurs, founders, solopreneurs, sales leaders, and account execs scale revenue with precision, but without breaking what they've already built. Over the course of a 30-year career, Alex has sold over $120 million across the UK, UAE, and Canada now, building sales teams, navigating messy forecasts, tight investor expectation, and all too common chaos that comes with the growth between $1 million and $15 million annual recurring revenue. But what makes Alex different isn't just his sales success, it's the way he helps people perform better under pressure. I love that. His coaching focuses on what truly moves the needle: sales structures, core skills, mindset mastery. Amazing. Whether your go-to-market motion feels inconsistent, your ops are cracking under scale, or you're just feeling stuck in a reactive loop, Alex brings the clarity, calm, and confidence to help you shift from overwhelm to intentional growth. This conversation is for anyone who's building fast, aiming high, and ready to scale without losing their soul in the process. Alex, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much for that introduction, VJ. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Pleasure is all mine. Alex, how do you narrate your journey in your own words, please? How was it, man? Where did it all get started? How was it all?
Okay, where did it all get started? And that's a really interesting question. And there's a really interesting kind of journey through sales. So my mother is a potter, and so she makes pottery. And as a child growing up, probably the age of 5 or 6 is the earliest memories I have, is she used to go to various craft shows around the country in England and set up a stall and at a craft show sell what she's made. And as a 5 or 6 year old, my earliest memories are standing behind the counter selling her pottery to the public. So I've been selling for over 50 years now. 45 years, sorry. Over 40 years. So 45 years I've been selling. And I used to love it. I used to love the buzz of selling a piece of pottery, collecting money, counting it all out, working out the change and giving it back at such a young age. And it was that adrenaline rush that I noticed as a young kid, and I also had a bit of a talent for it because I could normally get people to buy 2 pots when they only wanted to buy 1. By kind of doing a little deal here or a little deal there. So that's how it all started in terms of selling. I then had various jobs as a kid growing up, as you do. Pot washer in the kitchen of a restaurant.
Is this all UK? By the way, didn't mean to interrupt.
This was all the UK. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. This is all in the UK. I was in the UK up until 2004, at which point moved to Dubai. But yeah, so this was all growing up in England in a small town, small village. And yeah, it was great. As I said, various different jobs. And then selling, being a cashier in a petrol station, all these kind of things. Sorry, in this part of the world, they call it a gas station. People don't know what petrol is.
It's all good. It's the same thing.
And it all gets consumed in the same way. Then petrol station that I was working at had a car dealership attached to it. And so as a 16, 17-year-old, I started working weekends in the car dealership, learning how to sell cars and, being personable with the people coming in. And it was a great training ground. If anyone's ever been in car sales, you'll know that it's a great way of selling. It's quick. It's, you've got to think on your feet. People will have objections. You've got to overcome them. You need to understand how to create and construct a financing deal. So it was a really good grounding. And I just knew that I really loved sales and selling.
Right. Right.
Went to university, spent 4 years watching my beloved Liverpool Football Club, and went to the university in Liverpool and spent 4 years watching my beloved football club play football at the home of football at Anfield. Wonderful times. And then knew that I wanted to go into sales, and one of the best tech companies for sales and sales training back in the mid 1990s was Xerox. And I was fortunate enough to get into Xerox as a sales rep and as a sales trainee on one of their programs, and everything kind of spiraled from there, really, in terms of selling, learning, getting the best training. Xerox had the best sales training in the industry, so got amazing training, and that was my first introduction to gazing and gazing performance, which has then been with me for the rest of my life through whatever I've done.
Right. Very, very interesting journey of yours. Like, so what got the hook? Like, why sales? Like, did you find it that was the best path to pursue? I mean, there was at some point in your career, you felt, okay, fine, this is the path I'm going to take.
Yeah.
What was that moment like? Right. You had to choose.
Yeah. Well, funnily, I had to choose. So, I had a traumatic experience when I was 15 by losing my father, unfortunately. And one of the things that he had always said to me from a very young age was, you need to go to university, son. You need to go and get your education. Whatever you do, go to university, because it's not just about education. It's about having fun. It's about, meeting people and just having a great time socially as well. So, as I said, unfortunately, he passed when I was 15. And it was at that age, 16, 17, when I started working and doing some of the car sales. And there was a moment when I was actually pretty successful at the car sales. And this was just a holiday job and a weekend job. I was earning nice commission and a bit of money. And the opportunity to work for that dealership was presented to work full time at the age of, it was around the age of 17 when I'd have been leaving school, 17, 18. And that was the first major decision point, because as a 17, 18-year-old, there was going to be money in your pocket straight away or go to university. But my dad's words was ringing in my ears, and I couldn't shake the voice that said, you've got to go to university, you've got to go to university. I chose the right university because of being a massive Liverpool fan, to go to Liverpool. Had a great time, and it was during, I knew I wanted to do sales, so I knew I wanted to move into sales. So my degree was a sales and marketing business degree, and as I said, there was a program at the time for new grads with Xerox, and I managed to be one of the fortunate few that made it through the interview process, which was quite rigorous, and got into the world then of having a job and actually working in the world of sales and working my way up through that sales organization, from being a trainee all the way up to becoming a sales director.
It's a brand I cannot forget. I mean, like no one says it like I was brought up in India. I mean, no one even says photocopy. It says like I need to get it Xerox, right? Like Google,
go and Xerox it. Go and Xerox it. Yeah.
That's the might have used it a million times. I don't know.
It's ubiquitous. It's ubiquitous for photocopying. And it's funny, it is in India, and it is in the United States and North America. Not so, though, in the UK and Europe.
They still say photocopy.
Still say photocopy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a real English. I mean, like I've admired it's not your accent, it's a real English. Actually, I have an accent, but that's a real English. Photocopy is the real English, right? So I'm glad they retained that, actually.
It is. But no, Xerox were, and they still are, a fantastic organization, a fantastic company. But they really were, they were the cutting edge, leading when it came to their sales training academies, and it was such a great education. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So, so tell me about the first sales career that you got into selling cars. Like, what brand was it? Like, do you mind telling
it? Was Vauxhall. So I don't know if you know that brand in this part of the world. So Vauxhall is also Opel was a brand, I think, in Europe.
I'm curious now to check it out. Like,
check out Vauxhall.
We'll let the viewers know what it looks like. So
let's have a look and see what Vauxhall Motors. It's
Vauxhall.
VAUX. There it is. Vauxhall Motors. Vauxhall Motors. The top one.
Vaux, VAUX, HAUL.
That's it. No, HALL.
Got it.
That's what the sign. Now, they were they were a large brand in England, and as I said, it was Opel. Parts of across parts of Europe. They had a big factory in Luton in England, and also up on Merseyside as well. So yeah,
they still sell cars. I'm assuming.
Absolutely, right? They still sell cars, but the cars that I was selling back in the day would have been things like Vauxhall Astras, Vauxhall. Yeah, Vauxhall Astra. You can see the new. They still have the Astra. There's the old Astras. Yeah, they're there.
Right. These are the cop cars, the police cars.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, Vauxhall Cavaliers, Vauxhall Vectras. They were the cars that we were selling, and then you could get to the top of the range. You'd get to a Vauxhall Amiga. So you can see these are the 90s to the 90s, and this is what cars used to look like. There'll be many people on your podcast that probably only think that cars look like they look like today.
Yeah,
but this is what cars used to look like back in the olden days. They didn't all look the same. Funnily enough, they all had some kind of separate look. Whereas today, a lot of the cars blend into each other and look the same.
I know. This is so fun. Actually, I had fun looking at them. It's amazing how the cars have evolved in the last 30 years, or even
very much, yeah,
the last 100 years. I'm sure you watched the series Downton Abbey.
Yes.
But the cars that you see in the series are like from a different generation, right?
Completely different era, yeah. Back in the 90s and 1930s. And the drivers would all wear leather gloves.
Oh, yeah. I do. Yeah. I still do every day.
You still wear your leather gloves. You put your little peak cap on to get in the driving seat.
Right. It's amazing. So tell about the first ever experience, Alex. Like, I'm sure you still remember. This is the story behind your first ever major sales win, and it always stuck to your mind. Oh, I cannot forget that moment. Like, what was that like? What's the story behind it?
Well, as I said to you, the first kind of sales win was selling my mum's pottery.
And
I can still remember the shade, the colours of the pots, the blue pots and the bowls and things that she used to make. And yeah, just being able to sell two to a customer when they only wanted one was just such a rush and such a buzz. Selling my first car was something that they'll never forget. It was actually a Vauxhall Astra, funnily enough, and it wasn't red, it was white. But that was a massive buzz because I got a nice little bit of commission in my pay packet for doing that. So that was really nice. And then used to work out of an office back in the mid-1990s called Croxley Green that was close to Watford. And one of my clients was a large firm in Aylesbury, and they were an existing customer, but they had a print room. So back old days, again, you used to have centralized print rooms. So you didn't have printers around the whole of an office environment. You would have centralized print room with big printers in there. And then everyone would come down, the secretaries or the admin assistants or whoever it might be, would bring down the work that they would want copying or duplicating to a print room. So one of my first major big wins was in that customer. I won't name them to keep their anonymity, but they were a large global firm. They had a big print room, and I worked with one of my colleagues, and we put together the deal plan. We worked out all the numbers, and we went and presented it, and it went through their buying process. It was a great learning experience in terms of how buying processes work within organizations, and who's involved and who are the influencers, but who are the decision makers, and how long does a decision take? All of the questions. That was just such a great education to know about the world of sales and the world of selling. And we took the order, and it was a significant order. Back in those days, we were talking a couple of £100,000 of equipment, and it was awesome. It was brilliant. Great fun, great memories of the very first sales team that I was in when I went to work at Xerox in Croxley Green. Great people, great team spirit, great camaraderie, people that I still speak to today, people that I'm still connected with, that I'm fortunate enough to call friends. Even if we haven't seen each other for a long time, we might swap some messages on LinkedIn or something, and it takes you right the way back to that era. And it was a great era because it was sell hard, play hard. So we used to party quite heavily as well.
Right.
At weekends or after work, we would get together, and once a month or once a quarter, we would have a team event to build that team bond, and everyone just got on really, really well. So it was a great time. It was a great education. I learned a lot from my colleagues, and stood me in really good stead to pursue my career.
Right. So you have spent over 30 years now in the sales career, $120 million. I read the figure. Wow. And what are some principles that stood with you, and what changed, and what were the first 10 years like, and the second 20 years? Now you're okay, set in stone. This is not changing, right? This is Alex Marr, everybody.
Well, it is. But I think before we go on to that, it's constant learning.
Yeah.
30 years. 30 years, I'm constantly learning. There's new things coming out. There's new technology. Now we've got AI, so that adds a completely different spin into go-to-market.
Right.
And we can maybe talk about that a bit later. But so it's constant learning. I think the minute that you think that you know everything, or the minute that you think you've conquered your subject, then it's probably the time that you maybe need to look at retiring, because it should be a constant education and a constant journey. Back in that, so I was.
If you don't mind me asking, and maybe rephrasing the question slightly a little bit, what were the uphill battles in the 90s, and what was it like in the mid 2000s, and in the last 10, 15 years? How did times change? Of course, we have AI and so many other changes now, but what were the challenges then? In between and now?
So when I started in Xerox, and this is showing my age, everything was analog. So there was no connected photocopiers.
Right.
There was no digital devices. Everything was analog. So we would sell a photocopier. We would sell a fax machine, or we would sell a printer.
Right.
During the late 1990s, that's when digital connected devices came in. My first year or two working at Xerox was in an analog world, unconnected analog world, which was an interesting time. I think and this is where I come back to being very fortunate in terms of my timing, because in the late 1990s, four gentlemen, Martin Fenn, Dr. Kerry Evans, Renzi Hannum, and John Esposito formed a company called Gazing. gazing performance. Martin's background was he was a sales manager and a general manager in Xerox. And John Esposito, he was a sales trainer and delivered a lot of sales training to Xerox. And Dr. Kerry Evans, a forensic psychologist, and Renzi Hannum was a great thinker and a graphic designer and a graphic artist. And the challenge that they were looking to overcome was that they were delivering sales training. Training was being delivered to the sales force. But, and here's the interesting point, Xerox did a study on this. 87% of the sales training was being forgotten after 30 days by the sales team.
Wow.
So let's think about that. 87% of all training, sales training, was forgotten. Now, you can't put that down to the laziness of the salespeople because it's actually physiology and it's chemistry. Our brains at night, when we go to sleep, it erases some of the short-term memory, gets rid of those memories because it can only store so much, and puts some of it into storage. Some of it goes into your medium or long-term memory, but a lot of it just gets wiped and deleted. The other challenge with sales training was that traditionally, you leave sales training with a big, thick training manual. There's probably got 100 odd pages of all the slides that you've sat through as a delegate. And what happens is that manual gets put in your drawer when you get back to the office. It starts gathering dust.
Yeah.
When you actually need it as a sales rep, in the moments that it matters, you can't actually recall if the information was on page 100 or page 175. So you just revert back to type and you revert back to what you've always done. So their frustration was that sales training wasn't sticking. And with what they then came up with was, and they trademarked one-page maps. So they would have the material that would normally be in a manual, but they would create it on a one-page map, which was shapes and colors and wording, and it was connected. Now, why is it a map? Because a map helps you get from one place to another. With the forensic psychology, the depth of the research in forensic psychology, Dr. Kerry Evans knew that the brain recalls shapes and colors and imagery a lot better than it does just words. So they put this together and they overcame this challenge of salespeople forgetting, because now when you leave the sales training, you just have a one-page map, you put it up, it's visible, you can keep it in your sales planner with you, you can take it with you. So when you're in the heat of the moment and when you need to fall back on that structure and that training, you can instantly recall it. They formed that company, Gazing, back in the late 98, 99, and I was one of the fortunate first cohort that went through the program that they had designed for Xerox. I think it was called Selling for Success. It changed me instantly from being an average sales rep, just about 85% of target, to smashing, overachieving sales targets and winning president's clubs and honors clubs and all the other sales incentives that were running year after year. So I kind of came into the top 5% of the sales reps due to this complete revelation of learning to sell through the structures, the skill set and the mindset that the training provided, but being able to use it when it mattered. So that's what really made the difference. I then became a digital specialist within Xerox. Digital was just starting, and it was that switch from analog machines to digital machines to being connected. So no longer did you need to sell a photocopier, a fax machine, and a printer. You sold a device that was all in one, that did everything that we take for granted nowadays because we all have one on our desks in our office or something. It's a small little device. But back in the day, it was revolutionary. And again, Xerox were leading the charge with multifunction devices and then with color multifunction devices, which came afterwards. That was the big change for me, late 1990s, early 2000s. I then went and joined Xerox in the United Arab Emirates in the early 2000s. Helped that team, and the general manager there, who became a good friend and a mentor of mine, a gentleman called Andrew Hurt, and helped set up the color business unit out there for Xerox Emirates, and delivered, phenomenal results, again, winning honors clubs, but as an organization and as a company, delivering phenomenal results. And then took over the sales team, running the sales team, and became sales director. And we had quarter after quarter after quarter of revenue growth. It was a great time. It was a great place to be as well in the early 2000s. Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. It was going through a growth phase, but it was still a bit of a sleepy expat. It was still classed as a hardship posting, kind of, Right. People now are clamoring to get to Dubai. Back then, they had to try and, entice you to come in.
Please come here
a bit more. So it's so I've seen the growth of that city, of that emirate, and of the country over the past 20 odd years, and it's just been phenomenal.
Quickly, before you move on to the next era or the next decade, how was that? How was it different? Because UK was back then also part of Europe, and that's a European English culture, and Middle East is a different place altogether. It's of course trying to boom and grow. What was the companies like? What was the culture like? What was the attitude like in terms of interacting with people? Because we have to constantly talk to people.
Yeah, very different. What I found in Dubai, first of all, obviously Dubai, hugely multicultural. So it was a great experience to grow in an environment that is just massively multicultural. The number of different nationalities just within our company, let alone within the country, was phenomenal. So that was something that working in the UK, working in England, not so much within the sales team or within the company. So that was very different. But it was wonderful because each culture, welcomed us in. You learn about their cultures, you learn about their traditions, you learn about their festivals and celebrations. So we it was just a fantastic time to learn and grow and learn how to then manage a multicultural sales team. It's very different than from managing your own team that's all exactly the same as you, and they're all the same culture as you, nationality, to managing a multicultural team with, I think we had 5 or 6 different nationalities just within the sales team. So it was a great experience, great learning experience. People that become friends, not just colleagues, and that you go and break bread with, and as I say, celebrate successes and understand their festivities. And so that was great time. But as you said, big differences then going to meet with customers. What I found was in Dubai back in those days, customers were very willing to meet you, very willing to have you come into their office, to meet, to chat, to drink coffee, drink tea.
In Dubai or in UK or
in Dubai? Yeah,
in Dubai. Okay.
The UK is very different. The UK was more challenging to meet senior management and get in front of senior management. In Dubai, senior management and senior leaders were a lot more accessible. Doors would open a lot quicker. Tea and coffee was more readily available and shared, and stories and cultures, because the vast majority of the population is expat. And so you all have something different to share, but you all have something in common, which is that's not your home country. So it was very easy and nice to meet new people and meet new customers and have good conversations. And I think they appreciated that what we were doing and what gazing had taught us is the psychology of selling isn't about selling, it's about buying. Because the decision doesn't take place in the person that's trying to sell the equipment or the solution or whatever it is. The decision takes place in the buyer's head. So as a salesperson, your job is to understand where the buyer is in their decision-making process. And once you've located them, then use the right strategy to assist them in moving through and making the right decision. And so that was a big sort of change in that mindset, but it made us very, very successful and set us apart from our competition. So we were very successful. I think that is what has been that foundation and that grounding since the early days in Xerox in the late 90s, is understanding that decision-making cycle, understanding the psychology of buying, and the 4-step process that human beings go through when we take a decision to buy something. It's quite useful if you know that human beings go through 4 steps. It's quite useful to know what those 4 steps are. And then it's quite useful to know how you support and help someone move through those stages to make a decision to buy.
Right.
So it's and there's a big gap between sales. Majority of salespeople, and there was back then, the majority of salespeople that don't know that, and they go from introduction to this is what I've got to try and sell you. Can I tell you all about it? To those that understand the buying cycle and say, understand what the drivers are and the key requirements of the customer and talk to them about everything that they require. And once we understand all of that, then only then do we kind of start talking about what we've got and our solution and how it links into their requirements and how that links back to their drivers as a business drivers and their personal drivers. So it really does boil down to that understanding the psychology of decision making.
Right. So when you walk into a company or like interact with any person like who is a decision maker, what are some quick signs you look for? I mean, like, of course, you try and gauge like where are they in the decision making process, which you mentioned. So how do you approach from a sales angle? Because you have to put, and now it'll be natural for you because you have done it for 30 years now. Okay, then instantly it comes natural to you, like riding a motorcycle, right? So what is the first thing that you look for when you're approaching any new prospect?
It actually starts before that. So it actually starts with research.
Okay.
So if you're going to be successful, especially in a first meeting or prospecting call or something, it starts with research. And we are blessed in today's digital world and the day now of LinkedIn and the internet and everything else to be able to have all of that information at a click of a button. So if I'm talking to a salesperson and they're going in cold and they've not actually done any research, then that's a bit of a red flag. So you research, you understand what's going on in the company, you understand what's happened in the past, you understand what's going on in the present, and you look to see what the signs are, maybe through their annual report or through their website, of what strategic initiatives they might have coming forward. And once we understand where they've come from, where they are now, and where they might be going to as an organization and as a company, we can understand what some of those business drivers that they might have are. And then with LinkedIn, we can very quickly research the person that we're going to go and meet, also through other social media, to understand what their personal drivers are, what their interests are, what have they been sharing on LinkedIn, what have they commented on, and really get an understanding of who it is that we're going to be talking to. So when we do have an introduction, when we do have a meeting, then we're already armed with knowing a little bit about them and the situation. What we can then do to get that meeting, though, because again, we need to be able to get the meeting, So to get the meeting, we need what is called an engaging concept, or also known as a value proposition. And that follows a very defined structure. And it's not all about us. It's about them, and about then what they're kind of, what we think, what we can guess from our research, what their requirements might be, and what other people in a similar industry that we've spoken to have similar requirements. So we can make some kind of best estimates and guesses and create an engaging concept that at least gets us to have a meeting. And that's really the purpose of an engaging concept. Some people call it a hook, value proposition. The purpose of that is solely just to get us a meeting. There's no other purpose of that whatsoever. We're not trying to sell anything. We're not trying to gauge anything else. We just want to have a meeting. And at that meeting, we can then start identifying what some of their drivers are, and through effective questioning techniques and listening, more importantly, understand what their real requirements are. So those meetings should not be, and those conversations should not be anything to do with what we have to sell, what we want to sell, or what we might think the customer might want. It should all be about the customer, what their drivers are, what their needs are, and what their real requirements are.
Got it. Interesting. I mean, of course, like in your time and time again, you would have heard a lot of yeses, but you also heard a lot of rejections, no's. It's part of the process, right?
Absolutely part of the process.
Part of the process. Like, how do you handle that? And like, how do you think anyone? I'm not an expert at sales. I've told my story briefly to you as well, but I'm not a sales expert. I was the behind the desk geek for a long time and trying to now learn business development and sales. And it's a lot of self discovery, and like I'm enjoying it at the same time. Oh wow. It's like every time when it's a learning process, that fascinates me. And of course there's rejection and whatnot. So how do you process rejection? If you don't mind talking about it.
Well, the first thing you mentioned there is it's a learning process. So it's part of the process. A rejection is just, someone that just either they're not ready for it right now, your engaging concept wasn't strong enough, it didn't grab their attention. So you could go back and refine that. So it's a learning process, but you're never going to get all yeses ever.
Right.
So once you're comfortable with that, once you accept there's a saying about being comfortable with the discomfort. So and once you've made peace with that you need to be comfortable with the discomfort. Part of the discomfort is being rejected and getting a no. Then it's part of the process, and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm okay, and we move on. Not everyone is going to be a customer, and not everyone's going to be the right customer for you, and equally, I'm not going to be the right provider of a solution for everyone. So there's enough people out there for everyone where they are the right fit. And it's finding that. It's finding and ensuring that what problem you're looking to solve is the problem that customer actually needs solving. Because if it's not a rejection for you personally. It's not the right thing.
And of course, like follow-ups are part of the process, and you have to keep following up. And follow-up is where the secret is. I mean, reading and articles and posts about it. Yeah, follow-up is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to follow up, and I'm learning that as well.
Yeah. And I think that there's some kind of statistic, isn't there, around, it's almost the average is around 7 or 8
follow-up
contact points before you might get a yes or a come and see me or a yeah, let's have a conversation.
Of course.
I'm pretty sure that it is around about 7 or 8 touch points, 7 or 8 contacts.
Yeah.
On average.
So when you're following up and we are through the process, it could be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 touch points. I mean, what is the sweet spot where you find the lead is warm right now? Okay, fine. Now is the time. Like, maybe now you visually see it. Okay, fine. Like it's like the radar goes and ting, ting, ting. Okay, fine. Sell them now, and they're going to buy it, right? So what's that moment like?
Well,
in, like,
if we
it's different for everybody. I know it's not.
It is different for everyone, and if I can reframe that, my experience really is on the B2B
right, of course,
sales environment, and so I'm not looking so much really for one person, to want to. Generally speaking, it will be business to business. It won't be just trying to go, all right, they're ready to buy now, sell it. It's a process. It's a process of meetings. It's a process of understanding the requirements. It's a process of discovery. It will then be a process of presenting a solution and making sure that solution links into their requirements and drivers, and objection handling, ensuring that any anxieties they may have when it comes to the final decision and the closing stage are handled up front. So slightly different than in maybe what we now see on the internet so much, certainly on LinkedIn, which is, these hacks, get my playbook on how to sell someone. And yeah, I'm not really in that game.
That sticks, actually.
I'm not in that market.
There.
There's always going to be, look at my shiny thing to come and divert you and go, look, do this, and it will shortcut the way to that you can sell. Yeah, 100%. I don't think it does. It's people buy from people, especially B2B. People buy from people. The human element is what sets a B2B transaction apart. Yes, if it's B2C, it could be that you are looking to warm up a prospect and you're identifying where that prospect is, what they're looking at, how they're reacting to what you're sending them, how many times they've opened the email and looked at it, if they've asked any questions, what kind of interactions. You'll probably then be able to gather all that data and information and have an AI bot that will be able to disseminate all of the information that you throw into it about a particular prospect that you might be looking at, and they'll go, right, now is the time to hit them with an offer of do this, take this at this discount. And it probably worked, but that's not the selling game or the sales arena, the professional sales arena that I've grown up in and been part of for 30 years.
Right. How do you see, since you mentioned corporate, how do you see the difference between like the way corporates approach sales versus the mid-sized business and small business? Because it's a free market, and then a new startup opens every other day across the world, and they go from a startup to a mid-sized business to an enterprise, right? So how should, like, especially the upcoming businesses should approach sales, because they may not have an army of like sales force, right? So how should they approach it?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, I see this a lot. So, you have founders of tech companies, entrepreneurs who have scaled the business from nothing to a certain level through their own hard work, grit, determination, sweat, blood, tears, and everything else that comes with it. But what they're lacking is a repeatable sales system. And that's where, bringing someone like myself in on a fractional basis, not looking to, when you're an SME, but you're on the S and S side, small and medium size of the enterprise, and you have a certain runway of funds, investing in a full-time, sales head or a VP of sales or something like that is a risk. It might take you 6 months to find the right candidate. It might then take them 12 months to get up to speed, after which you realize they weren't quite right and they haven't quite delivered what you thought they were going to deliver. And it's been a very, very expensive hire, and you haven't really got out of it what you were hoping. So by bringing in a fractional sales leader, a fractional VP of sales or a CRO or something like that, what you're able to do is you'll find that fractional has got experience of doing this in similar businesses, similar size organizations. They have the sales playbook. They know the structures that need to be implemented. They know the metrics that need to be measured. And they could probably deliver in 30 to 60 days what it might take a full-time head to get up to speed and deliver in 6 months. So I think that from that perspective, I honestly believe the fractional executive and the fractional sales executive is such a great option for that founder-led startup business, for that, Series A or seed level funding where they really need to take the business to the next level, and just relying on the founder themselves or the sales techniques that they've put in place without having all of the structure and the metrics in place is not going to enable them to grow and scale at the rate in which they would need and want to.
Interesting. In your own experience, I mean, at one point, we are people buy from people, and people also sell to people, right? There's a person actually making a decision. A has not yet started making decisions for us. Still, maybe it will, but what is the human psychology aspect of this whole? Because it is a kind of a psychology, right? It's understanding the other person.
It's absolutely the psychology.
It's a lot of empathy, sympathy, and also having an open mind to understand where the other person is coming from. Oh, here's where you are. This is what you want. Okay, fine. Let's try and meet here instead of here. So there's a lot of that going on. What's a human psychological element that you think has helped and is something that needs to be understood more?
So the first thing, and we come back to the human psychology, the first point that is it's not actually, we should change the name of the selling cycle, because it's not a sales cycle, it's a buying cycle.
Right.
And the transaction only happens when the buyer takes the decision to purchase. So we really should be calling it the buying cycle. As human beings, we go through 4 distinct stages of making that decision. So as a buyer, I'm going to go through 4 distinct stages. And you'll know yourself, if you've bought a house or you've bought a car or you've bought an expensive holiday or you decided to go on a cruise, you've gone through 4 distinct stages. First of all, the first stage you'll go through is you might be unaware that you need to do anything, unaware. And then suddenly you go, the car's starting to make a funny noise. I need to possibly think about buying a new car. You become aware of the fact that something might need to happen. But as a human psychology, we have a blocker, an automatic blocker, which is justifying the current position, justifying the status quo. So as a salesperson, we've all done it. You pick the phone up. Hi, I'd like to speak such and such. Can have you got time to, I'd like to talk to you about whatever it is, XYZ company. And they go, no, I'm all right, thanks. Don't need anything. Thanks very much. Put the phone down.
Right.
That is the human psychology blocker that's coming in, which is justifying the current position, justifying the status quo. And so in the example I'm giving of buying a car, it's like, yeah, but maybe I can just keep the car for another 12 months. Because it's making a noise. It might cost me a little bit of money but I like the car. It's been with me a long time. I don't really want the hassle. So I'll try and justify position of not making the decision. But then an event happens. And that event could be a breakdown of the car completely, or a really expensive bill that comes in. When I talk about an event of a B2B sales interaction, their engaging concept is such an the problem that I have as an organization that I'm looking to solve, and what this person has just told me is so powerful that actually I need to kind of think now. I need to try and take some action. So there is an event that happens. That event moves you then into stage 2 of the decision-making process, which is, so I kind of think that I want something, which was stage 1, but actually, what do I really need? So if it might be, I want to buy a new car, but I'm not sure. Now it will become a process of, well, what do I really need? So what if I'm going to buy a car and I walk into a car showroom and the guy that meets us in the car showroom says, "Hey, VJ, nice to meet you. I've got a lovely red car over here that would just suit you perfectly," and takes you over there and sits you in there without asking you really any questions about what you need, what your requirements are. You're probably going to go, "Yeah, no, I'm all right," and I'm going to move on. But if you went into that car showroom and the salesperson said, "Hey, VJ, yeah, nice to meet you. How are you doing? Tell me a little bit about what you're looking for today. Tell me a bit about your requirements." And you say, "Well, I'm looking for a blue car and I want it to be family friendly." "Oh, family friendly. How many members of the family have you got?" "Oh, okay. Have you got any pets? Do you need a big trunk space for your pets to go in? What kind of performance are you looking at? Are you looking at electric or are you looking at, gas? And what's your thoughts on the environment? And are you someone that's really into environmental sustainability? And what kind of fuel economy are you looking for?" And he's really, and do you need a sunroof, or do you want a roof at all, or do you want a convertible? Or what they're doing is, and from that process, they're really understanding what your requirements are. And he didn't just stop at, what color do you want and have you got a family? A good interaction and a good salesperson will find the main requirement and another 2, 3, or 4 requirements on top of the main requirement. Because the more requirements that you find, the better when you then come to match your solution that you have to those requirements, the more impact and the stickier it's going to become.
Got it.
So he's asking you all these questions at stage 2 and really what we call broadening the agenda and understanding really what the main real requirement and what the sub-requirements are. And once we know all of that, only then would we then go down to stage 3, where the blocker at stage 3 is comparisons. So then you might go, okay, and he shows you what he's got, and it might be a Ford, and it's got everything, and it meets all the requirements that he's got out of you. All of a sudden, that's a strong comparison. But you might go, but before I make my decision, I'm going to have to go to the Nissan dealership down the road and see what they've got, and then I might also go to the Toyota dealership just down the other street and see what they've got, because our natural blocker at stage 3 is comparisons. We all want a good deal, and we want to feel as though we're not being ripped off. Right. We're getting the best. We're getting the best deals. At stage 3, and the sales professional and the buyer is going through this comparison stage. So as a salesperson, how can I influence that? How can I support and help the buyer? Well, I could say, yeah, well, Mr. VJ, you're in the Ford garage here. Let me tell you about what the Toyota garage has to offer in this range. Let me tell you what's the same. Let me tell you what's different about my offering, about the Ford, and let me tell you why that's better for you from what you've told me. So we call it same, different, better. What's the same? What's different? And why is that better for you? And then also, let me tell you about the Nissan dealership and the Toyota dealer and what they have for you. So what I'm helping you on is I'm helping you with your comparison by telling you what you're going to find everywhere else. But to do that as a professional salesperson, I need to know what my competition is. So I don't just need to know what my product and my solution is. I need to know what my competitor's product and solution is. And I need to know their products and solutions inside out. And I need to know where mine are better than theirs and where that advantage lies and why is it better for this particular customer. And then finally, when you come to make that decision, you've gone through stage 3 and you come to stage 4 of the decision-making cycle, you get to that stage where your blocker is your anxiety. It's that little voice in the back of your head that
Right.
anytime you're just about to put pen to paper on something big, on a big decision, little voice go, are you sure? You sure you want to do this? You really want to do this? And it's just that, it's that voice in our head that makes us check our decision. And you might have some, and that's where it comes to risk perception. So how risky do you feel this transaction is going to be for you individually or for your company that you're making the decision on the behalf of? Now, as a salesperson and as a sales professional, if I've done a great job in stage 1, 2, and 3, what I've also done is I've handled any of these anxieties that I know that you're probably going to have up front within my solution. So, and by the way, you might feel as though this could be a situation. Well, let me assure you, you get a 5-year warranty with this vehicle. You're going to get 100,000 kilometers, whatever it might be. So you're reducing that risk perception that the buyer has. You're overcoming them and you're making them feel comfortable that actually they are making the right decision. And that comes from building that trust. So what really, what it all boils down to at the end of the day, you're not selling a car. You're not selling a photocopier. You're not selling AI widget or an AI solution. What you're selling is trust and peace of mind. If you can build that within that 4-step process, the trust and the peace of mind, that is what the customer is buying. The customer is buying that there is not a risk in taking this, that you are a trustworthy person, that actually, sales has had a bad rep, got a bit of a bad rep over the years because of unscrupulous sales behavior. But if you are a true sales professional, you're not trying to con someone. You're not trying to fool them. You're trying to help them and guide them through the process that they've got to go through anyway as a trusted advisor. And you build that trust and peace of mind. So that is ultimately what anyone is really buying from you. Because the product's a byproduct. They could buy it from anyone. They can buy it from anywhere, realistically. You can buy a car on the internet today if you really want to.
I know, right.
So why do you go to a dealership when you can buy a car on the internet? Is you're buying trust and peace of mind. You're buying that expertise from someone who will guide you through the process that you trust will do it in your best interest.
I've heard the phrase peace of mind, especially when it's tied to the insurance industry and they're selling an insurance product, maybe life insurance or many insurance products. But it was interesting to hear in your conversations you're selling trust and peace of mind. Does it apply to every product?
Everything. Every transaction that is person to person, where a human being is buying from a human being. We all hear that people buy from people, but people buy from people that they trust.
Right, 100%.
Yeah? You're not going to go down the road and buy something from a guy that you absolutely do not trust. You're not going to make that transaction because your risk perception at stage 4 will be heightened and going, I don't think am I really sure this is a crazy idea?
Yeah.
The little voices go, what are you thinking? You cannot.
I bought lemonades this summer from a totally unknown person, total stranger, a small kid. Like I bought 2 times lemonades. Just kidding, but I mean, of course, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But you're trusting that little kid isn't there to try and rip you off.
It's $1, $2 lemonade, so it is okay.
They are selling lemonade, and they're not selling washing up liquid in a cup that they've given you and told you it's lemonade. So you built that kind of that trust,
right?
Yeah. Everything that you go through, a major buying decision, you buy. And think about it: if you're going to a clothes store to buy some clothes, you're buying it because you trust the brand. So you've built up that as a consumer, you've built up that trust of the brand, that the brand will provide you value for money. It will provide you clothes that aren't going to fall apart the first time you put it in the washing machine. It's going to make you look good. It fits on you nicely. So you've built the trust in the brand from whatever messaging or from your past experience or from anything. So trust and peace of mind really is what people buy.
Got it. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is like, I was just thinking about it when I was hearing to you. One thing is like there are amazing small business owners in the main street and in the local businesses, amazing people. Like they want to do good. They create fantastic product. Maybe they're baking cakes, or maybe they're selling candles, or maybe it's a little downtown grocery store, whatever, right? And there's the Wall Street taking over Main Street kind of a situation where there are like billions of dollars poured into a gigantic $30 million grocery store, which not every small business owner can afford to create something like that, right? Just like that. And how do you see those businesses actually evolving? Actually, I want those businesses also to do well personally. I feel because some of them are like good friends, and like maybe what they're selling for $50 is like when you go to the big store, it's like, hey, it's just 20, right?
Yeah.
And it's obvious human inclination to go buy from the big box store, right? So how do these people compete in the marketplace, Alex? Because this is a real problem, not just like in Canada. It's a global problem, actually.
It is a global problem. It's a great point that you bring up. Firstly, it does come down to, as again, I talk from my experience. My experience is B2B. So if I'm talking about an SME, a small startup or an SME company, that's one of the reasons why we have set up a company called Fractional Execs Canada, which is part of the Fractional Group, because we want to level the playing field. We want to make it fair for the smaller guys, because the big enterprises can afford to pay the huge salaries for, and if they make a mistake, if the person doesn't quite deliver what they delivered and they don't quite hit the targets, they're all right. They've got deep pockets. They'll just go again. They'll hire someone different. They'll bring in this expertise, this C-level experience. They can afford it. A small and medium company, they can't afford that full time. So what we're bringing to them and what we're bringing to the market here with Fractional Execs is the ability for these small and medium businesses, these startups, these entrepreneurs, these founder-led scaling companies, we're giving them access to that tried and tested. I call it the grey hair gang, because these are the people that have done it throughout their careers. They're getting in they'll be in their, maybe in their 40s, 50s. They're getting access to that expertise and that knowledge and those playbooks and those ways of being able to scale the business and not make those mistakes at a fraction of the cost. So we are trying to level the playing field for these small and medium companies and provide them with that same route to success as the big boys get, as the big companies get. And so far, it's proven to be extremely successful. We've seen enormous success in other parts of the world where the Fractional Group in the UK, across Europe, in the Middle East, and in South Africa. And now here in Canada, we're just building that team and we're ready to go. We are here to help Canadian small and medium enterprises compete and scale and fulfill their dreams without having to try and find the expertise on a C-level salary that these companies just can't afford.
Right. What is that one thing which it could be a non-sales skill that actually made you a better seller? What do you think that would be?
Mindset. So as part of Gazing, we deliver a program called Red to Blue. And Red to Blue is about mindset and treating mindset as a skill rather than a problem to solve. Because if you look at one's performance on a continuum, 0 to 100 or 0 to 10, whatever you want to say, and you look at performance, you say, first of all, you recognize, where am I? Where am I on my performance? Am I a 5? Am I a 6? Am I a 7? When we and then if I am a 5, why is it a 5? What does it look like? How does it feel? And if I want to become a 6, what does that look like? And what does that feel? And what do I need to do mentally and with my mindset to be able to get incremental shifts? Now, If you look at the performance equation, which is structures, skill set, and mindset, most organizations or a lot of people or a lot of individuals, a lot of athletes focus on the structure and they focus on the skill set. Mindset is usually the one area that doesn't really get much focus. But it is the mindset and it's your control of your attention. If you want to do something well, you need to put your attention on it. If my attention is diverted because of things that are happening out of my control, I didn't win that order, or that customer put the phone down on me, or the prospect, like you said earlier, the prospect, you got a rejection.
Right.
If my attention is being drawn into all of these things that I can't control, I can't control that.
Right.
But where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if my attention is all on this stuff that I can't control, then actually that's where my energy is getting sucked into. And all of the things that I can control that are going to drive me forward are getting left behind. So the skill is in red to blue, and we call it red head and blue head. And, you know, our red head is when we're feeling cluttered, it's busy, it's very, you know, there's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of self-talk. I can do this, I can't do this. Why me? Poor me. Why did this have to happen? A lot of that, what we call you get into a negative content loop. The blue head is where you're calm, you're connected, you're still, you're in the moment, you're present. You have clarity of task of what you need to be focusing your attention on. That's when your energy flows into all of these great things, and you feel phenomenal. You feel as though you're right in the moment, and everything seems to be slow motion. It's all happening.
You're in the flow.
You're in the flow. You're in the flow. So the skill, though, is recognizing when you're going into the red.
Right.
Accepting the situation for what it is. And deliberately choosing to put your focus and your attention on tasks that are in your can control circle, that are within your control. Now, it's a cliche. We've all heard it. Focus on the controllables. But saying it and doing it are two different things.
I know. Right.
And doing it is a skill. But if it's a skill, the good thing is you can be taught it and you can practice it, which means you can get better at it, just like any other skill. So the one thing for me that has really helped me throughout my career and life in general, because it's a life skill, it's not just associated to the career, is learning red to blue, being taught red to blue, first of all, learning it, becoming a certified coach on red to blue, and now delivering red to blue to clients and athletes and teams, sales teams, organizations, schools. We have children as young as 4 or 5 elementary school children using the red monster and the blue monster. And obviously we have different terminology for them, but it allows them to verbalize and understand why they're getting angry and all caught up and het up in these situations, and they can label it and they can know to talk about, how do I get back to blue monster? How do I get back to the blue side?
Good choice of colors there, by the way. It represents a lot of
red and blue. So there is the red to blue.
Red and blue, and a lot of the political colors are conservatives, Republicans, Democrats. It's all everyone understands these colors.
Not associated. And by the way, the good thing is we don't associate red and blue as negative and positive.
Right.
So red behavior and redhead we just label as being unhelpful, and blue is more helpful. So if we're all caught up in the red, it's not really helpful for us to what we're trying to achieve. Whereas if we're focused on the blue, a lot more helpful, and we're going to get a lot more done. Now we all move from red to blue, by the way, naturally ourselves over time. Otherwise, we'd all be stuck constantly in this state of not knowing what to do. But some people, you will observe yourself, some people it might take them an hour to get out of this mindset, this redhead. It might take them the whole day, and it's only the next day when they wake up. Some people, it might take them a week or longer. They're still holding on to this. Why did this have to happen? Why? And whilst you're in that moment, and whilst you're having those thoughts, you're diverted from your full attention being on to giving you the kind of high performance. And that is what separates the high performers from kind of everyone else in any realm. So if it be in the sporting world, if it be in the corporate world, it's those people that are able to bring themselves and accept the discomfort, accept the situation, but bring themselves back into a state of blue head quicker than the others. They are the high performers in their sphere, in their realm. And you'll find that if we link it now to sales, so in a sales environment, the high performing sales people don't just know how to sell. They haven't just got the structure, and it's not just that they're really skilled. They have the mindset and the ability to focus on what matters, when it matters, and not get caught up in all of the time wasting stuff that happens when we're in red. And they are the high performers.
Got it. One question I want to get to you is, like, we have another 12 minutes roughly. So I want to ask this question, and we'll get to an AI section, which our guests find it interesting. Yeah. We will do a drawing and we'll have a question around it, and you can make your request and we'll see what AI does for us. So then we'll get to the rapid fire and we'll close it. Another 10, 12 minutes there. So this question, I was thinking about this, like, let's say when you want to sell something to yourself, right? Let's say this something that you don't want to do. Right. Let's say maybe it's at like maybe waking up at 5 a.m. or maybe going to the gym every day at 10 a.m. or whatever that could be. There could be certain things that your mind kind of rejects. You don't want to do, but you know you ought to do it. Like, so
yes.
How do you sell certain things to yourself? Actually, it's just you, and
Great
how do you
question,
make yourself
Vijay.
buy that? Yeah.
Great question, Vijay. I've never been asked that before. Love it. So what we're talking really there is about habit forming and discipline. You know, red to blue will help you in that process and in that journey. Because what we do in red to blue is we have something called the control circles, and they're 3 circles, and we ask you and we get you, and as an individual, you can do this yourself. In the left-hand circle, you'll write can't control. In the right-hand circle, you write can control. And then in the middle circle, you'll have can influence. So you'll start putting down, right, going to the gym. This is what I want to do, going to the gym. So what are the things I can control? Or going to the gym at 5 a.m. What are the things I can control? Getting to sleep early the night before. Setting my alarm. But setting it so I can't just switch it off and snooze it and you know, setting or having a goal. Setting the target of what it is you want to achieve. Is it losing weight? Is it health? Is it bringing blood pressure down? Is it cholesterol? So all of the things that you can control. Well, what are the things you can't control? Well, I can't control the weather. I can't control what the traffic's going to be like. I can't control, you know, you get the picture.
Yeah, different parameters, yeah.
Once you've put it on paper, it's out of your head and you can see it visually. You can start identifying, well, if I'm getting het up, or I'm not going to go to the gym just because the weather's not great. But if you've already gone, well, I can't control the weather, so it's not a factor. It's not something that's going to be within what's going to make my decision for me. What I can control are all these other things. If I've had a good night's sleep by getting to bed early and not drinking alcohol at night or drinking coffee before I go to sleep or whatever it might be, you're setting yourself up with rituals and habits, forming habits that give you the best probability of going, I'm going to go and do that today because I know all of these reasons why my mind will probably tell me that I'm not going to do it, but I'm deliberately choosing to put my focus on all of these things I can control. One of those things I can control is getting out of bed, putting on my gym equipment and going to the gym. I can control that. It's within me. It's within my ability. I'm not reliant on anyone else or anything else for that to happen.
Right.
Is it easy? Some people do not find that easy. But I think the point is, once you've done this once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, it becomes habit forming. But equally, you start then seeing the benefits. So again, you're going through your decision-making process internally, which is you're justifying why I don't need to go to the gym, justifying the status quo. I'm not too fat, or I'm not too overweight, or my blood pressure's a little bit high, but it's
all
not
the time.
too, everything you justify. But then you look at, well, what are the reasons? What are the requirements that I want to go to the gym? What are those requirements? Well, I want to get fit. I want to look better. I want my clothes to fit me better. I want to feel healthier for my kids. I want to do that, whatever it might be. Well, okay, so what are the options? What are the solutions? Well, the solutions is I stay in bed and it doesn't do any of this. Or the solution is I go to the gym once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, or I do whatever it is. But I set myself up for success. Give myself every opportunity to break through that, go into the red side, which is I really don't want to get out of bed because it's still dark outside and I'm just not in the mood for it today.
Right. I just have a quick follow-up on that, if I may. So I understand the parameters, like focus on the things that you can control, and this is the red areas, and we want to get to the blue as quick as possible. How there's also a layer you spoke about, influence, right? So how do we, let's say when we're selling to ourselves, so we know the things that we can control, setting the alarm, etc. And how does the influence play a part in actually selling to ourselves, Alex?
Yeah,
I didn't get that part actually.
Maybe in that scenario, the influence circle won't have very much in it because it's probably between what you can't control and what you can control. But, obviously, because we can control our mind. So it's not like we need to put that in the can influence but we can get other people that can influence us. So maybe our spouse, is getting up at the same time to join us, or is going to kick you out of bed and is going to give you your gym equipment and tell you to get out the door and whatever it might be. Or it might be your kids that can influence you, that says, Daddy, I want you to be a bit healthier, or I want you to do this, or I want you to. So you can get other people in that scenario to influence you and influence your decision.
Got it. No. Great answer, by the way. I mean, like, all are great answers, by the way. I just try and, I'm trying to absorb and learn, and okay, fine.
It was a great question. That was the first time I've had that question. I loved it.
I had to ask it. So the next is the AI section. I'm excited for all the AI sections because I don't know what the outcome is going to be, because it kind of tries and gives us different, based on the interesting requests that we have, right? So what are we going to do now, Alex? You're able to see my screen, okay?
I can see your screen. I can see Grok.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going to ask AI Grok to draw us something. So please be a guest and whatever you want. And we'll ask the AI to draw it for us. So what do you like today?
So draw me. Oh, wow. Draw me. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, it could be anything. Just go ahead.
So draw me what it will look like for Liverpool to win the Champions League trophy in 2026. So draw me an image of what it will look like of Liverpool lifting the trophy, the Champions League trophy.
Draw me an image of what it will look like for
Liverpool Football Club. So Liverpool FC.
Yeah.
To lift the Champions League trophy in 2026.
There you go. Good. Let's
see what
it comes up with. We're creating the future ahead of time.
Fingers crossed, because now we'll be able to visualize Liverpool winning the Champions League. Look at that. There we are.
Wow. Aha. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Beautiful team.
There we go.
Beautiful trophy.
So now all we have to do is visualize this and make sure and hope that this is the image that we're going to be seeing in May of next year, 2026.
Yeah. I'll send it to the BBC.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So
Brilliant.
the question that comes to mind when I look at this image is like how important it is to win and how important is the team behind you and your success. And what are the qualities that you need to install in your team to keep that success and momentum going year after year, month after month, quarter after quarter? Because it's a teamwork
it is absolutely. Right. And you know, in a team like this or in a sales team, it boils down to culture. So creating that culture. So mindset is a big part of creating the culture. But culture eats strategy for breakfast. You might have heard that saying before.
Heard it.
And so culture is the biggest driver over any strategy to success. And so in a football team, it's about having the right team members that fit into that culture and the vision and the leadership of the manager, the coaching team and everything else, all falling into having that. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be best friends, but it just means that they fit into that culture. There was another famous saying, I think it was the All Blacks. And also in the England rugby team as well, no dickheads.
Yeah.
So it's and that's part of it. So the ego, no one's, you know, they don't support people having the egos. Everyone is there. Everyone knows what their role is. Everyone's there to support each other. Yes, there are some superstars in the team, but it's not about the individual. It's not about egos. It is about the culture and the ethos of the team. There's a great book that I read once a year. It's called Legacy. And it's about the All Blacks.
Do you know the author?
It's about, in fact, one second.
Okay.
I really do read it once a year, and there it is on my shelf. Legacy by James Kerr.
It's Kerr. Okay.
What the All Blacks can teach us about the business of life. And it's an inspirational book. It talks about what it is that made the All Blacks and their culture into the successful back-to-back World Cup winning teams, and around things like sweeping the sheds, sweeping the changing rooms. No one player was too big to sweep the sheds, to clean up after themselves within the dressing room. And it was just part of the culture and the ethos. They didn't rely on someone else. It wasn't someone else's job who was, you know, oh, well, we've got a cleaner, let them do it. No, these guys, and it was part of that culture. Coming back to your question, culture.
Beautiful. I love the image, love your answer. So I'm going to wrap up in the next couple minutes, if you wouldn't mind just finishing a rapid fire, and we'll be done. Quick question, so are you a fan of cold calls or warm introductions?
Warm introductions.
Warm introductions. So I was going to ask you the book, but you already mentioned the Legacy book, so I'm not going to ask you that. Is there a favorite teaching moment from failures? Is there a word or a phrase that you would say from failures?
Well, I mean, failure isn't a failure. That's the whole point of failure. And by labeling it a failure, we make kids and people nowadays feel as though there's something bad about it. It has a real negative connotation. It's not a failure. It's just a learning experience. And it just tells us how it wasn't to be done. And we just find a different way of doing it. So, you know, A/B testing is A/B testing. It's not failure testing.
Right.
And so I think we should get away from the language of failure and more to just it's learning.
No, I was just going to take the Oxford Dictionary and then remove that word from the dictionary. Actually, I love that.
Remove it.
Why not do it?
It isn't a failure. It's just a way in which we now know it doesn't work.
100%. I completely agree with you.
So that's learned. We've learned something from that.
100%. What's the most underrated sales skill?
The most underrated sales skill. Wow, that's a great question. The most underrated. Well, you know what? Actually, the most underrated sales skill, we call it staying above the line. So when I talked about the 4-step sales process, stage 1 and stage 2 is identifying drivers, both business and personal, and then looking at requirements and producing a framework of needs. That's above the line because that's all within the customers, the client's realm. We're sitting there listening to the client talk about their business, their area. The longer that you can stay above the line before you drop down and start talking about your own solution and your product, the more powerful your interaction and the more probability of success you're going to get within that sales transaction. So the most underrated sales skill, staying above the line for as long as you can.
Right. Probably this is the last question for the day. What's the best advice you've ever received in your last 30, 40-year career that you want to share with the world today?
Best advice. There's a few that spring to mind, but we come back to something that makes the high performers, and why they are in the top 5% is because they do something which a lot of other people don't do, or they live by a motto, or they have a method that other people don't do. And that is what was given to me and told to me in this way, which is don't waste time with the time wasters.
Great.
So what does that
Great
mean?
advice.
That's not being disrespectful to clients. What that means is if I want to be within a top performer and a high performer in my sphere, then I have to be very laser focused and clear on where I'm going to spend my time and my effort, because my time is the most limited resource that I actually have. So we don't want to waste our time. So we don't waste time with the time wasters. Now that's internally and externally. So you might have colleagues that call for meetings every other day to sit there and discuss what are we having a meeting for? Don't waste time with the time wasters. Let you use your most valuable resource and your time to the most efficient way in which you can do that.
100%, I agree with you. Time is the ultimate currency. That's all you are, right? So
that's all you have.
That's all you have. Alex, where is the best place for people to find you? Would it be Instagram or LinkedIn, or what do you prefer most?
LinkedIn is search Alex Marr Gazing. You can find me on gazingcanada.ca, and you can find me on fractional hyphen.
Got it. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved going on this journey with you. And, just remember, get rid of the idea of the sales cycle and get into the idea of the buying cycle, because ultimately the decision takes place in the seller's mind. And red to blue mindset. If you can have the red to blue mindset and the skills of understanding that the decision takes place in the buyer's mind, then you are on the way to becoming a successful sales professional.
Awesome. Alex, an absolute pleasure. I learned a lot. I totally enjoyed your journey. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time and sharing your journey. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Vijay. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, thank you.